Well, we actually have an email question that came through, and it's from Callie, and it talks about, I believe, a gas grill. My husband was badly burned over the weekend using our gas grill. We swapped our empty tank for a full one at a gas station, and he's sure something was wrong with the tank. What should we do, Callie?
Callie, the first thing you need to do is you need to preserve that tank. That's valuable evidence that has to be inspected. I've actually worked cases involving gas leaks and explosions. Sometimes it's user error, and sometimes it's a complete fluke and an accident. And it sounds to me like if everything was working right, the grill was taken care of, it had good burners, you didn't have any leaking burners where gas could drop down. The connections were all good. The connection was tight, and the tank just exploded. I mean, there absolutely could be a defective tank, but that's going to require a cause and origin expert, is what we call them. Basically a fire inspector, to come and look at it, and they can determine a lot of times what the root cause of that was. And if it was in fact a defective canister, like the ones you trade out at the convenience stores, then yeah, there's liability there. Because again, when you go and you rent a product or you buy a product or trade one out like that, you're relying upon a warranty. It's not an express written warranty, but it's an implied warranty that this is fit for its intended purpose. And exploding propane tanks are not what they're designed. They're not designed to explode like that. They're not supposed to anyway.
So, but Les, there's a common theme there. Whether it's a boating accident, whether it's jet ski, same thing, or a gas grill. Hire an attorney. Hire someone that's going to help you, navigate that process, and hire somebody who's going to actually, tell you what to do, like preserve the evidence. Without the tank, you probably have no case. Without a receipt of where you purchased it from, you have no case. I mean, you have to have a chain of custody here. So, going at it alone, and maybe somebody saying, hey, well, we'll take care of this, don't worry about it, and then all of a sudden your 2 years passes. Well, no matter if they were at fault or not, you are forbidden from ever filing a lawsuit against that individual or trying to make a recovery from them. So by all means, the common theme here is you hire an attorney. If you get engaged in something where you're injured, hire a law firm like ours that specializes in helping people who have been injured in accidents, whether it's propane tanks, whether it's a boating accident, jet ski, or your typical run-of-the-mill auto accident case, Les. A lot of those cases are very complex, and what seems like just a real simple exchange of information a couple of days later manifests itself into, someone actually has a burning sensation in their spine, or maybe they have a pain that won't go away in their shoulder or their knee. And they're not, maybe they just felt like they slept wrong, and then all of a sudden, hey, I was involved in an accident, and what's going on here? So, Les, whether it's a boating accident or a car accident or just something with a propane tank burning, call an attorney, get some help, get somebody there that can actually help you navigate the process, who specializes in this, because the other common theme is fighting the insurance company day in and day out. Right. Now we're talking about the legislative process, changing it from a 4-year statute to a 2-year statute, changing it from comparative to contributory negligence. Those are major, major changes, and you can get caught with your pants down if you're not careful, if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And you were talking about the these catastrophic injuries, and the propane. It makes me think of somebody suffering very severe burns that would require very intensive specialized medical care. This is one of the things that if you suffer a really bad injury, or you've got a family member that has suffered a catastrophic injury or a death, probably the last thing they're thinking about is, oh, I need to go ahead and get a lawyer on the line. And if you're injured, the first thing you need to take care of, and the primary thing you need to do, is make sure you get appropriate medical care. I mean, that is first and foremost before everything else. But for those family members of people that are injured, the spouses, the adult children, you want to know what you can do when your loved one is getting taken care of medically. Reach out to an attorney, because while you're focusing on what is most important to you and your family, which is getting the care and getting better, we can focus on collecting the evidence, preserving the evidence, making sure that propane tank doesn't get tossed, making sure that gas grill doesn't get thrown away, making sure that camera footage from that convenience store adjacent to where you got rear-ended doesn't have it erased because they're on a 7-day loop. These are all things that can make the difference between a successful case and getting full compensation and really being hung out to dry. And, again, you don't want people to think that you know, that there's some, I mean, we're here to help. You know, we want to help, and we want to make sure people are treated fairly and they're adequately compensated for some loss that they did not ask for, that they did not want, but they were unfortunate enough to get. That's our job, is to protect the process and protect those people.
You know, Les, you said something really, just something, an accident they didn't ask for.
Right.
And that's an accident.
That's right.
I mean, some people make, you know, the intentional acts. Some people do things on accident, but it's something, the injured person was injured based on something they didn't ask for.
Right.
And, you know, so keep in mind, we have a lot of individuals coming to our area now. I mean, try driving across the bridge. Now, unless you live across the bridge, and thank the Lord, I don't. I live on this side of the bridge in Panama City. And it gets to a point where, you know, during the summertime, we don't even like to travel across the bridge to go into Panama City Beach. And if we do, we'll go around 388 to go on the west end over there.
Right.
But the reason I bring that up is we're going to have even more individuals coming to our area now because of the summer, you know, the beach and tourism. And that leads into why you have to have uninsured motorist coverage.
Right.
And that's an insurance protection that protects you when somebody else doesn't have enough or they don't have any insurance coverage, unless there's been multiple cases that we've had over our 20 to 25 year span of practicing law. Had it not been for uninsured motorist coverage that someone was smart enough to buy, they would have not recovered anything.
Right.
And the injuries were catastrophic.
And people don't realize how important it is oftentimes until it's too late. But I've said it before, I'll say it again, Florida is the only state in this country that does not require an individual to have liability coverage to protect personal injuries. So, and statistically speaking, those folks that go in and say, I just want to be legal, I just want legal insurance, or other people call it full coverage.
Full coverage.
I got full coverage. Chances are they've got the minimum insurance required by Florida, which is $10,000 in property damage liability from a liability standpoint. That's it. $10,000 to fix a car that is, you know, even used cars these days are, you know, they have a very high
more
value.
expensive now than they have been ever.
So, you know, uninsured motorist is the only way to ensure that if you are unfortunate enough to be in one of those accidents that you didn't ask for, and you do end up suffering an injury or you miss time from work, uninsured motorist coverage is really the only coverage that oftentimes is going to be there for you, because statistically speaking, if you're going to get hit in the state of Florida, it's going to be by somebody that doesn't have any liability coverage or has the bare minimum liability coverage of $10,000. Right. And that's just, you know, that's not even a full visit to the emergency room with a good workup.
You know, Les, one of the things that we've been offering to our, you know, clients and just viewing audience is basically, if you got questions about your insurance policy, come talk to us. Yeah. Just, I mean, we'll be glad to review it for you, no cost, no charge. Sit down with you or do it over the phone or do it via Zoom and just explain what kind of coverage you have and can you afford more coverage, and if you can afford more coverage, what levels of insurance should you have to protect you and your family?
Yeah, you'd be surprised that in terms of the amount of premium charged for these types of coverages, uninsured motorist coverage is among the lower.
Extremely
Property
cheap.
damage liability is what costs the most.
Right.
Because that's the most common claim. But uninsured, it's relatively speaking, it's pretty reasonable.
So